I'm Daniel Harper, a homicide detective in Newark, New Jersey. In my 15 years on the force, I've seen the worst of human nature, from blood-soaked dismemberments to malicious schemes. But the case on February 14th, 2016, at the faculty dorms on High Ridge Road, robbed me of sleep for months. That morning, the phone rang just as I took a sip of coffee. Nick Carter, my assistant, screamed over the line.
Daniel! Big case. A body wrapped in plastic, faculty dorms on High Ridge Road. It's a damn horse show. Damn it. On Valentine's Day?
I cursed under my breath, tossed my cigarette, and rushed to my car. The stench of death hit me like a punch in the face, even with the windows wide open. The room was tiny. One bed, one desk, a few scattered items. But what grabbed my eyes was the massive plastic-wrapped bundle on the bed. It was tightly sealed, the edges taped up like a deadly gift. Dried blood stained the sheets in thick brown streaks. I turned to Linda Moore, the head of forensics.
A body, right?
Linda nodded, put on gloves, and began cutting. One layer, two layers, then dozens of clear plastic wraps, interspersed with black activated charcoal to absorb the smell. I counted nearly 80 layers before we reached the inside. When the final layer peeled away, the body was revealed. A middle-aged woman, skin bluish-purple, hair matted with dried blood, decomposed to the point that even flies didn't care. Linda examined her.
Dead about 8 and 9 months. Skull fractured by blunt object. The killer was meticulous, sealed the cracks in the door, the electrical outlets, everything with tape.
I scanned the room. A small infrared sensor was mounted on the desk, pointed toward the door, likely to detect movement. Under the bed were several vacuum-sealed bags, the kind used for clothes.
The sick bastard. He knew he'd be found.
I muttered, ordering everything to be collected. The one who reported the crime was Robert Williams, uncle of Alex Williams, the son of the victim, Margaret Williams. The old man, hair white, voice trembling, said,
Alex texted me saying he and his mother would be back in Connecticut on February 6th. I waited at the station all day. No one showed up. Then I couldn't reach them. Today I came out to check. The door was locked, so I called the cops.
I frowned.
On text? You waited a week to report it?
Something didn't add up. Forensics confirmed the body was Margaret Williams, 47 years old, a professor at Newark Teachers University, using fingerprints and DNA. A hard-working single mother, she'd raised Alex Williams, a top student at Boston University, dubbed a once-in-a-century genius. Now the mother was dead, and the son was missing. I started to worry.
Could the kid be in danger too?
I ordered an immediate search for Alex. A brilliant, handsome student, beloved by friends. No one believed he could be involved in such a gruesome case. Nick checked the phone number Alex had used to text his uncle.
This number's been inactive since July 2015, Daniel. The message from February 5th was faked. Shit. A fake?
I was stunned, slamming the desk hard.
So someone impersonated Alex to throw us off?
The most likely scenario at this point. The killer had murdered Margaret, then either kidnapped or killed Alex, and faked the message to delay the discovery. I started connecting the dots. Maybe this was a case involving money. I looked into Margaret's bank account. From June to August 2015, there were dozens of transactions receiving funds from friends and family, totaling $1.4 million, all labeled preparation for Alex's study abroad in the U.S. But not a single payment was linked to an actual education program. The money had been withdrawn little by little from ATMs in Newark, and the account had been completely drained since September 2015.
Some son of a bitch is playing a game of cat and mouse with me.
I gritted my teeth. I suspected the killer was someone who knew Margaret had borrowed money, someone who murdered her to steal the cash, then kidnapped Alex to cover it up. I ordered the team to investigate everyone who had lent her money and to analyze every ATM camera that might help trace who had made the withdrawals. At the same time, I had them widen the search for Alex, checking hospitals, motels, even landfills around Newark.
If that kid's still alive, we have to find him.
I told myself. In the briefing room, the team was growing tense. Nick looked worried.
Daniel, if Alex was kidnapped, why hasn't there been a ransom demand?
Sarah Bennett, another officer, disagreed.
Maybe the killer doesn't want money. Maybe they just want both of them. that? For revenge?
I nodded, but inside, I was uneasy. No clear motive. No solid leads. The whole case felt like a maze. Then came the pressure from the higher-ups.
Geno! The media is all over this. A mother, a teacher, and a missing son. What the hell is your team doing?
I could only grit my teeth and push everyone to double their efforts. On the second day, the investigation team found some suspicious receipts in a trash bin near the dorm. Purchases for plastic wrap, duct tape, activated charcoal, and an infrared sensor. All paid for in cash. No buyer information. Nick analyzed the evidence.
These match the crime scene exactly. The killer probably bought them in advance as prep. Good. Check the stars, surrounding cameras. See if you catch anyone's face.
I ordered. At the same time, we found another message sent from Alex's number. This time to a classmate in Boston, also on February 5th.
Heading home with mom, taking a break from school.
But the classmate, John, testified.
That's not how Alex texts. He always called me Conrad. Never say stuff like heading home. Plus, he loves school. No way he dropped out of the blue.
Another fake message. I was now certain the killer was trying to fabricate an alibi for Alex's disappearance. But why? To cover up a kidnapping? Or to make us think he was already dead? I started entertaining a grim possibility. The killer might be someone close, someone who knew Margaret and Alex well enough to mimic Alex's tone convincingly. I interviewed Margaret's colleagues at Newark Teachers University. One of them, a woman named Veronica Lane, told me.
Margaret was kind but very private. She once mentioned a close friend who often asked borrow money, but lately she refused because she was saving up for Alex's studies. That friend got angry, cut off contact completely.
I made a note.
Who is this friend? Are they connected to the case?
I ordered the team to look into the person's identity and, in parallel, check all airport, train station, and interstate bus cameras for any sign of Alex. Back in the briefing room, tension rose again. Nick asked,
Hey Dan, if the killer was someone close, why kill Margaret, but not demand for ransom for Alex? What if he's already dead too?
Sarah Bennett countered.
No, if Alex were dead, the killer would have left the body to thaw us off. I think he's alive, but being held somewhere.
I stayed quiet, feeling helpless. Every theory had holes. If the killer wanted money, why not leave a trail? If it was revenge, why not go after Alex immediately? Online, the public was buzzing.
What the hell is Newark PD doing? A teacher's been slaughtered, her son vanished, and still no leads?
Pressure from my superiors kept growing.
And if you don't fire Alex in the next 48 hours, start writing your resignation report.
I clenched my jaw and reminded myself. I had to find the truth, not just for my job, but for Margaret and Alex. To get a clearer picture, I went directly to Boston University and met with Rachel Morgan, Alex's former academic advisor. She spoke with deep regret.
Alex was the best student I ever had. Scholarships, awards, he earned them all. But a few months before he went missing, he changed. He started skipping class, looked drained, like something was eating at him. When I asked, he just gave a sad smile and said, "It's family pressure."
Pressure? His mom adored him, didn't she?
I asked. Rachel shook her head.
Margaret was very strict. She called him every single day to ask about grades, assignments, who he was hanging out with. Alex once told me that he felt like he was living in a glass cage. He couldn't breathe.
I took notes, starting to piece together a new picture. A gifted young man, crushed by overwhelming expectations from his mother. But that still didn't explain a murder. I started suspecting the killer might have known the Williams family had a large sum of money and saw them as easy prey. I spoke next with Alex's former roommate, Ethan Clark, who said,
Alex was always on edge. His mom called constantly, even asking about what he ate or when he went to bed. One time, Alex slammed his phone on the door and yelled, "She's choking me." Then he vanished for a week.
I pressed him.
Did Alex ever mention anyone suspicious? Someone who might want to hurt him or his mom?
Ethan shook his head.
No, but he did mention his mom was being harassed by an old friend, someone who kept asking for money. Alex told her mom to stop helping him, but she was too soft. She gave it anyway.
I frowned.
Okay, this old friend. Maybe the key.
I ordered the team to dig up the identity of this person and re-examine all of Margaret's financial ties. Another of Margaret's colleagues revealed that the friend was Mark Anderson, a former teacher who had once worked with Margaret but was fired for embezzlement. He had a history of asking Margaret for money, and she'd recently cut him off.
Yeah, this guy has a motive.
I thought, and ordered his immediate questioning. But then, late that night in the briefing room, I found something that made my blood run cold. Nick came in with a report from the tech team. All of the withdrawals from Margaret's bank account had happened late at night, at ATMs scattered across different parts of the city, always in busy areas where cameras wouldn't easily capture faces. I reviewed the footage from one ATM, a tall young man, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, withdrawing cash on August 15th, 2015. His build looked exactly like Alex.
Nick, look at this. Isn't that Alex?
I shouted, heart racing. Nick shook his head.
No way. Daniel, Alex is the victim, remember? Maybe the killer disguised himself to look like him.
But I wasn't so sure anymore. A bad feeling crept in. What if Alex wasn't a victim at all, but the one withdrawing the money? What if he hadn't been kidnapped, but had gone on the run? I started to question everything.
Oh, I think we've been going down the wrong path.
I ordered the team to recheck every traffic camera, especially in areas where Alex might have been seen. I also had the techs reanalyze the fake messages. Maybe the killer wasn't Mark Anderson. Maybe it was Alex himself, the person I'd been trying to protect for days. On the fifth day, we had a major breakthrough. A traffic camera in San Diego, 200 kilometers from Newark, captured a young man matching Alex's description. Baseball cap, sunglasses, stepping off a bus on February 10th. Nick shouted excitedly.
Daniel, that's Alex. He's alive.
I exhaled, but didn't celebrate just yet.
If it's really Alex, why hasn't he contacted the police? Something's not right.
The image was blurry, but the figure's build and posture matched Alex. I ordered a deeper trace. A hotel worker in San Diego confirmed.
He stayed here from February 10th to 12th. Paid cash. Didn't leave a name. Looked nervous. Kept peeking out the window.
My suspicion grew. If Alex was alive and hiding, why wasn't he reaching out? Maybe he knew the killer. Or maybe he was involved. I told the team to shift our approach. Stop viewing Alex as just a victim and consider him a potential suspect. The decision split the team. Sarah Bennett objected.
Daniel, Alex is a model student. No criminal record. You're wasting your time.
Even Nick was hesitant.
If Alex is the killer, why list so many clues? The receipts, the fake messages, it's all too obvious.
I snapped.
Exactly. It's too obvious. Maybe he planted those clues on purpose to make us think he is the victim.
But deep down, I wasn't sure. If Alex was innocent, I was falsely accusing a victim. If he was guilty, I had let a murderer roam free for 8 months. The pressure from above was relentless.
Dan, you got 24 hours to crack this or start packing your desk.
Online backlash exploded.
Newark PD is useless, letting a killer slip through their fingers.
I sat in my office, staring at piles of evidence, wondering.
Where did I go wrong? What's the truth here?
On the 7th day, we caught Alex at a bar in San Diego. He was drunk, clutching a bottle, mumbling.
But she deserved it. Deserved to die.
I froze like someone had punched me in the gut. As we brought him back to the station, Alex smirked.
It took you long enough. If that I could get away forever.
Inside the interrogation room, the truth spilled out, sharp and brutal like a knife to the heart. Alex wasn't the victim. He was the killer. He confessed to using a hammer to smash his mother's skull on February 5th, 2015, after a heated argument. He told us, his voice cold and detached.
She said I was useless. That I didn't live up to her expectations. I couldn't take it anymore. I hear, and then I lied to her so no one would know.
I was speechless. Every single clue, the plastic, the duct tape, the fake texts. Alex had planned it all. He had withdrawn $1.4 million from his mother's account, living freely for 8 months, even faking his own disappearance to buy more time. The infrared sensor? It was his warning system to detect anyone approaching the room. I had been dead wrong. I thought he was the victim, but he was the predator. I slammed the table, furious.
You killed your mother, wrapped her in 80 layers of plastic, lived off her money, and you still call yourself victim? You're a monster, Alex.
Alex chuckled, eyes bloodshot.
You don't get it. You don't get it. She wasn't my mother. She was a monster. Every day he'd check up on me, ask what I study, who I talk to, what I thought. I couldn't breathe. I just want freedom. You understand that?
I clenched my jaw, struggling to stay calm.
Freedom? You go killing your mother, lying to her friends, blowing her money on bars and hookers? Freedom?
Alex looked down, voice trembling.
I didn't mean to kill her. But when she started yelling, I snapped. I grabbed the hammer. And everything ended.
In the following interrogations, Alex started to unravel completely. He confessed his motive. The unbearable pressure from his mother had driven him insane. Margaret had pushed him to be a genius, to achieve every accolade possible, but never gave him space to breathe.
I wasn't a person to her.
Alex shouted through tears.
I was a machine, a tool to fulfill her dreams.
We later found the hammer and bloodstained clothes he had hidden in an abandoned storage shed near the faculty dorm. Everything matched perfectly. Alex hadn't just killed his mother. He had meticulously planned the cover-up. Fake messages, slow ATM withdrawals, drifting around anonymously to avoid capture. But he hadn't expected Robert, his uncle, to stop by early and disrupt the plan. I asked him coldly.
Why the text to your uncle? What do you want?
Alex whispered.
I just wanted to rest in peace. I don't want to slide in this plastic forever.
I turned away. I couldn't bear to look at him anymore. He wasn't a genius. He was a deeply broken young man, turned into a monster by the very expectations that once defined him. On the 10th day, while searching through Alex's belongings, we found a small notebook in his backpack. Inside were erratic, frantic scribbles, notes that detailed his plan to kill his mother, dating all the way back to June 2015.
June 1st. Bought a plastic wrap, duct tape. Need to be careful. June 4th. She chatted me again. I can't take it anymore. June 5th. Today, I'll make her quiet forever.
I felt a chill crawl down my spine. This wasn't a spontaneous act of rage. Alex had been planning it for months. But what shocked me most was a final line, scrawled in red ink.
If I get caught, tear them a left her.
I took the notebook into the interrogation room and threw it on the table.
You wrote this? You left your mother? And you killed her? How sick are you, Alex?
He stared at the pages, then gave a cold, bitter smile.
You don't understand. I did love her, but I also hate her. I wanted her to be proud of me, but I couldn't live like she won. I killed her too. Free us both.
I shot to my feet, unable to contain myself.
Free? Free? You call that freedom? You're insane.
But deep down, I knew Alex wasn't lying entirely. He was trapped, caught between love and hatred, between expectations and suffocation, until it all exploded into a horrifying crime. In August 2016, Alex Williams stood trial. He stood before the court, head bowed, silent. The judge sentenced him to death for murder, with aggravating factors, detailed premeditation, emotional manipulation of friends and family, and the abuse of trust. In the courtroom, I looked at him and asked myself,
What turned such a brilliance to him into a killer? Pressure? Ambition? Or so rough far long ago?
The case was closed, but the haunting remained. I returned to my office, stared at the case files, and thought.
Sometimes the most horrifying truth isn't found in the crime scenes, but in the human hurt.
Margaret Williams wanted her son to be a genius, but she unknowingly planted the seed for a monster. As for Alex Williams, he was both a victim of crushing expectations and the perpetrator of an unforgivable crime. I stood up, turned off the light, and left the office. Outside, the rain was falling hard.